Good evening. Welcome to the Livonia Public Schools Board of Education special meeting of May 15th, 2015 at 6:45 p.m. Mr. Centers, would you please take the roll?
Mrs. Bonifield.
Present.
Mrs. Bradford.
Here.
Mrs. Frank.
Here.
Mrs. Jarvis.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Centers is here. President Branden.
Here. Thank you. The purpose of the special meeting this evening is to determine which Livonia Public Schools Board of Education members will be the delegate and the alternate for voting on the Wayne County RESA board candidate that will sit on that board for the next few years. After we discuss this topic, we will then take a brief recess and then at that time go into our normal 7 o'clock general meeting. If you are following along on an agenda this evening, you can find them just outside our door. The next item on our agenda this evening is audience communications. I do have 2 blue slips. I'm suspecting that the folks who have given me blue slips wish to be heard at the general meeting. I have one from Rob Jazwicki. Rob, is that the case? Okay. I have one from Michael Heath. Michael, would you prefer to be speaking now or at the, Michael, can you raise your hand? I'm sorry. Okay. Would you prefer to be speaking at this special meeting or at the 7 o'clock meeting? Probably the 7 o'clock is what you're shooting for. All righty, thank you. We'll hold on that till the next few minutes then. All righty. The next item on our agenda is item 3, resolution to consider designation of local school districts electoral representative for Wayne RESA Board of Education biennial election. May I have a motion on this item, please? Anyone would like to jump in?
President Branden.
Mr. Centers.
Move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District adopt a resolution to consider the designation of an electoral representative and alternative for the June 5th, 2017 Wayne RESA Board of Education biennial election.
Support. We have a motion by Mr. Centers, supported by Mrs. Bonifield, which opens this item up for discussion at this time. Is there any member of our Board of Education who would like to be the designated board representative to place our vote for the individuals who are running for these seats? It does fall on a Monday night. It does fall at 6 o'clock, so it would need to be someone who can get there at 6 o'clock, which is in Wayne. Generally, these meetings are very quick, and you can get back by the 7 o'clock meeting for the purpose of our meeting that evening, which is a general meeting.
President Burton, I could do that.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, do that? Mrs. Bradford, you indicated also, would you like to be the alternate? Sure. Okay. Bradford. Are there any other comments or questions about Mr. Johnson taking that voting spot for us on our behalf and Mrs. Bradford being the alternate in case Mr. Johnson's not available? Okay. We will do that. The other item that we need to have a little bit of discussion on, we were just given these candidates after our last Committee of the Whole meeting, which is why we did not discuss them at the Committee of the Whole. But I need to have some discussion about the 3 candidates because frequently there are the exact number of candidates as there are seats, and that is not the case this time. We have 2 seats that are open. We have 3 candidates who have expressed their desire in running for these seats. The 3 candidates for the 2 seats are Mary Blackman, who is an incumbent Wayne RESA board member, and Mary we have the resumes before us. We have Danielle Funderburg, and we have Annie Carter. Are there any thoughts on any of these candidates that you'd like to share with fellow board members as we have a little bit of discussion before we go into our voting meeting? Again, we are not going to vote at this time. We are only going to have a little bit of discussion on these candidates. Mrs. Jarvis.
President Burton, in looking at the candidates, I noticed that we have 2 candidates who have been involved in the Detroit Public Schools in various ways. And I think that it would behoove us to consider one of them, statistically, if we're going to nominate 2, one of them is going to be from Detroit. As Detroit's reinventing itself, to have that kind of representation might be helpful in their renaissance.
Thank you. Other thoughts from other board members? Mr. Centers.
One thing that stood out is on Mary Blackman's resume. She is a Master Platinum Award status from MASB. That is quite an achievement.
Yeah.
So that would take many years and many hours, so that stood out to me as significant.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
President Burton, I think some of us already know Mary Blackman. She's been around for quite a while. She does a very good job, and I think Mrs. Jarvis's point is well taken. If you look at Annie Carter's her resume, she's got over 35 years' experience in the Detroit Public Schools, and I think perhaps with what's going on down there, they need somebody that has that kind of experience to know the ins and outs, and she may be very helpful at RISA.
Okay. Other thoughts? Mrs. Frank.
President Burton, just an alternative to that is that it might be helpful to get somebody from the Detroit Public Schools and then somebody who is not from the public schools. So both people on the board that we put on the board are not both from the Detroit Public Schools, but a variety of other schools.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Mary Blackman is from Detroit Public School, has a background in Detroit schools. Annie Carter is the same, and Danielle Furdenberg has her background on Romulus School Board. Mrs. Bradford.
President Burton, I do notice that it looks like Danielle Funderburg is a newer candidate, or has not been, it's more, I guess, a younger candidate. Not necessarily younger, but not as many years of experience. So I guess we should look at that, considering that, as opposed to Annie Carter. I think Mary Blackman looks strong to me as a strong candidate. I would think either Annie or Danielle would probably serve in a good capacity. It's just a matter of which one you would like to see. Somebody new or fresher come in, or somebody with two people on that have served in the same district. So.
Okay. Other thoughts on candidates? Mrs. Bonnefield.
Ms. Funderburg seems to, just from her being, it looks like she may be a little closer to what's actually going on in the public schools and have possibly, is maybe more attuned to what's. I know the other ladies are absolutely knowledgeable about what's going on, but maybe a little closer to being in the thick of things right now.
Okay. Anybody else has not had a chance to share any thoughts yet? I've heard strong things about all three candidates. I'm also impressed with the many, many decades of work of Mary Blackman, both on various boards and specifically the Wayne RISA board. And I know she was integral in helping pass the Wayne RISA, the Wayne County Enhancement Millage, rather, which was beneficial to all the students in the entire county. I'm inclined to go with one candidate from Detroit Public Schools and one from one of the suburban districts, which would be Danielle, all things equal. And I do see that all three candidates are very strong candidates, and they're all well-versed on board work and well-versed in the school districts. That would be my thought at this point. Are there any other comments or questions or thoughts you'd like to share before we go into our next meeting, and we will take a vote at that meeting? All righty, what I'm hearing strong support for Mary Blackman. I'm hearing a mix of support for both of the other two very strong candidates, and we will put forth a motion and have discussion and voting at our next meeting.
Okay.
Let's see here. All righty. What we need to vote on then, Mr. Centers, is Mr. Johnson as our delegate for the election, and should Mr. Johnson be unavailable, it would be Mrs. Bradford.
Correct. Okay.
Good. If you'd like to phrase that differently, go ahead.
No, that's great.
All
So
right.
we have the motion on the table with Mr. Johnson serving as a delegate and Mrs. Bradford as the alternate.
That's correct. And we
Ms.
have the motion by
Myself?
We had the motion by Mr. Centers, and it was supported by Mrs. Bonifield, that we have Mr. Johnson as the delegate and Mrs. Bradford as the second.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Centers says yes. Mrs. Bonifield?
Yes.
Mrs. Bradford?
Yes.
Mrs. Frank?
Yes.
Mrs. Jarvis?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
President Burden?
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. We are now adjourned from this meeting. We will take a momentary break and begin our next general meeting at or very near 7 o'clock. We are at recess right now. Or actually, we're adjourned right now. Sorry. Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the Livonia Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting of May 15th, 2017. Mr. Centers, would you please take the roll?
Mrs. Benefield,
Present.
Mrs. Bradford,
Here.
Mrs. Frank,
Here.
Mrs. Jarvis.
Here.
Mr. Johnson,
Here.
Mr. Centers is here, President Burden.
Here. Mrs. Bradford, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. I pledge allegiance
Welcome to our Board of Education meeting this evening. It is always exciting to have a full audience. Our Board of Education really values our time to get out into our school buildings and check out what's going on. And we're equally excited when members of our staff and our public are interested in what's going on with the Board of Education meetings. I fully believe that we can all work together better when we understand a little bit better about each other, a little bit more about each other's jobs and tasks and roles in our school district. So welcome this evening. If you are here in our audience and you'd like to have an agenda, they can be found on the table just outside the door. If you're watching from home and you'd like to follow along with an agenda this evening, they can be found on our website, which is at www.livoniapublicschools.org. If you hover over the board tab, you can drop down to the agendas and follow along with this evening's activities. The Board of Education has three different types of meetings. This evening's meeting is what we call a general or a voting meeting. And by that, what we mean is that we have had typically a study session and a committee of the whole meeting on each item that comes before the board this evening. And it's during those meetings that we take a study session, we take a quick glance at what's coming before the board. A committee of the whole, we take a very deep dive, and we have a lot of discussion, a lot of questions and answers about the topics that are coming before us for a vote this evening. It's only when we've exhausted pretty much everything we can think of to ask and discuss on an item at a committee of the whole meeting that we bring it forth for a vote at a regular or voting meeting. So what you'll see tonight are a lot of votes on a lot of items, and there may not be the level of discussion that you would expect. Please understand that that is not because we take these items lightly. It is because we've discussed them. This will be at least the third time for most of these items that we've talked about these things. We've pretty much exhausted everything we can think of to talk about and ask about on them. If you are interested in hearing more in-depth discussion on items before the board, I really do encourage you to either attend or tune in to the Committee of the Whole meetings, and those are also found on our website. Typically, they take place the week before our voting meeting. That's where you're going to find a lot of discussion on items before the board. So this evening we'll have a lot of honorees. We're going to celebrate a lot of successes in our school district. And then we're going to take a number of votes on items that have had a lot of previous discussion on them. We will have, as I mentioned, several honorees and exciting things to celebrate this evening. Those we put at the beginning part of our meeting, very intentionally for you. We're going to be here all evening anyway. But what we're going to do also is, if you have an agenda, on our agenda after item 3D, we're going to take a brief break. And that is after we have honored our folks who are joining us for a special occasion this evening, various items that we're going to be talking about. And we'll take a brief break, about 5 to 10 minutes or so we can congratulate our honorees of the evening. So just so you're aware that that's going to be taking place. Also, our school district has embarked on several very important goals of the year, and one of them that's very important deals with the climate and character of our buildings, and that's all of our buildings, and that has to do with respect. This Board of Education takes that challenge and that goal very, very seriously. We will begin, carry through, and end every one of our meetings with respect. You have that commitment from this Board of Education. What we also ask is that everybody who is participating in our meetings also hold themselves to that very, very same lofty goal. We will likely agree with each other on lots of items and possibly disagree with each other on some. That's okay, and frankly, that's healthy. That's all right. But what I am asking, and it will start with me and it will end with me, and I will ask everyone in this room to join me with this, is that we will all treat one another with respect, with whatever the topic is that we're discussing this evening. The next item on our agenda this evening is item 3, communications. Mrs. Jenkins. Item item 3A is our student art gallery, and this evening we are honoring the Livonia Career Tech Center.
Yes, good evening.
Take it
Thank
away.
you. Good evening, President Burton, members of the board, Superintendent Oquist. In keeping with our monthly student art gallery program, I'm pleased to recognize a new batch of very talented student artists who were selected to represent the graphic arts program at the Livonia Career Technical Center. First, I'll tell you a little bit about two of the courses, real briefly, before we go into the awards. The Graphic Design 1 is a one-year, 2-hour block class that emphasizes a hands-on approach to skill development with an insight into current professional practices in the fields of graphic design, illustration, photography, advertising, and web design. This hands-on instruction includes the use of industry-standard software, with which students may develop technical skills, and they can even create their own digital portfolio, which is really cool. Graphic Design 2 is an extension of the first-year class and allows students to continue to develop their skills in graphic design with an emphasis on advanced projects in advertising design, page layout, web design, multimedia, and self-promotion. Tonight we are seeing just a sample of the students' work, and some more pieces are displayed out in the lobby on the art kiosks in the lobby. So be sure to check those out on your way out. At this time, I would like to invite our artist to join me at the podium, and each artist will receive a special certificate, which reads, Livonia Public Schools Certificate of Recognition, Student Art Gallery, featured artist, selected to represent the Livonia Career Technical Center's Graphic Arts Program at the Board of Education Office, May 15th, 2017, and it's signed by the superintendent and myself. Okay, so
Mrs. Jenkins, if I can jump in for just a moment, if there are family members or friends of our honorees this evening who would like to take a photograph as their family member is being honored, you can feel free to move to a position where you can get a better picture if you'd like.
Thank you. Because it's a very busy time of the school year, we do have some who couldn't be in two places at once. Our first honoree is such an example, Heather Burke. She's a senior at Stevenson High School. She's actually attending a National Honor Society induction ceremony at Stevenson this evening. So she could not be with us, but she sent her lovely mother. Isn't that sweet? So I'd love to welcome, and I cleared this with her mom, Pauline, beforehand. I'd love to invite Pauline up to the podium to accept her certificate on her daughter's behalf. Thank you. And I wanted to point out, in case you weren't aware, that Heather's three pieces are in the upper right corner. The penguin, is that a self-portrait? Does she look familiar?
No, that's
okay.
YouTube.
Okay, and then a sushi menu for those who can't quite make out the third one there. That's a menu for the Sushi Shack. So very cool. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Next, we have Molly Cormier, who is also a senior at Stevenson High School. Molly, here we are. I will present this over the podium, and if you wouldn't mind pointing out which three pieces are yours. The lower left corner? Okay, very nice. Is the Orange Detroit one yours too? Okay, very nice. Thank you so much, Molly. Excellent work. Next up, we have Erin McAfee, and Erin is also a senior at Stevenson. Hi, Erin. You're close by. There you are. And if you'd like to point out your three pieces as well, I think I can guess one of them.
Yeah, the self-portrait. Above that is the CD cover and the 2017 NAIS poster.
Okay. And some folks before the meeting said that could be a poster that's out at the auto show now. Excellent job. Very nice. Next, we have Natalie Truxell. Natalie is a senior at Franklin High School. Is Natalie with us this evening? Okay, I did not hear back, so we will make sure that she gets her certificate. Natalie's pieces are in the upper right. I happen to know this student, and that is a self-portrait. Upper
Left.
upper left,
Right.
and then the smaller piece, all three pieces are the blue pieces. So, very nice. Let's give Natalie a hand even though And last but not least, we have Caitlin Vinitsky. Caitlin has a little story too. Come on up. She also had two places to be at once, and you can tell from her softball uniform where she needs to get right now. So Caitlin, here's your certificate. We surely appreciate you joining us this evening. And which grouping is left here, right in the middle?
The three next to others.
Okay, in the center?
Yeah.
Is that a menu?
Yeah.
Okay.
Menu, magazine, and CD cover.
A menu, a magazine, and a CD cover. Okay, very good. Thank you so much. That's all we have for this month's certificates. Yes, thank you. I'd love to recognize Miss Messina Ormsby, who is the graphic arts teacher at the Career Center. Thank you so much for being with us this evening as well.
Are there comments or questions from board members?
Great work.
Great work.
Awesome.
Very
It
impressive.
It never ceases to amaze us because most of us up here, there are a few artists among our group, but the one down here I know, but most of us can't even come close to doing what you folks do. So congratulations on your wonderful accomplishments, and thank you for sharing them with us because we had lovely beige walls. So to have all of this behind us is a whole lot more fun to look at. So thank you very much and congratulations. And thank you for sharing all your students' work with us.
Oh, thank you.
The next item on our agenda this evening is our recognition of National Merit Scholars, item 3B. Mrs. Jenkins.
Okay, thank you. Way back when our next group of student honorees were juniors in high school, which was actually just last year, they studied for, stressed over, and ultimately conquered the PSAT National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Exam. A lot has happened in their lives since then. They are now wrapping up their academic careers in Livonia Public Schools and will be graduating in less than 3 weeks. Can you believe that? 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks. But before they move on, we would like to take a few moments to recognize them for their outstanding achievements in this very competitive National Merit Scholar Program. There are 3 designations students can earn from their test scores. The first is commended, which means the student scored in the top 5% in the nation out of approximately 1.6 million students nationwide. Then there is the semifinalist, which means they scored in the top 1% nationally. Each semifinalist submits a detailed scholarship application, which includes essays and information about extracurricular achievements, awards, and leadership positions. Semifinalists also must have an outstanding academic record, be endorsed and recommended by a school official, and earn SAT scores that confirm their qualifying test performance. By the conclusion of the competition, the finalists are chosen to receive scholarships. So let's meet these outstanding students now. We're also issuing certificates, of course, and the certificates read: Livonia Public Schools Certificate of Recognition, Outstanding Achievement, National Merit Scholarship, then the student's name, selected by the National Merit Scholarship Corporation for outstanding academic and social academic success and personal growth in social and leadership endeavors. And that is signed by the school board president, Mrs. Colleen Burton, and Superintendent Andrea Oquist. Okay, so in keeping with tradition on this item, also I interviewed each student, and I'd love to share a little bit about each student with you.
Right ahead.
First up is Samuel Bacon. Samuel in the audience? Come on up, Samuel. I'd love for you to come around if we can manage. Now hold on to these. Okay, there you are, sir. Thank you. Congratulations. And if you wouldn't mind sticking by me while I brag about you for a few minutes, okay? Okay. Samuel is a senior at Franklin High School, and his scores earned him a commended designation in the National Merit Scholarship Program. Sam has a 4.1 weighted GPA, and plans to attend the University of Michigan in the fall to major in law and business. He aspires to be a corporate lawyer someday. In addition to his studies, he also plays varsity basketball, is in the International Baccalaureate program at Franklin, and participates on the Quiz Bowl team. His favorite aspect of LPS is meeting so many amazing people. Congratulations, Samuel, and thank you so much. We are going in alphabetical order. Next up is a very close friend of our family, Miss Natalie Cadot. If Natalie could please join us at the podium. Natalie is a senior. Natalie, there you are. Just come on over here. That's a little bit better. You can stand next to me. Okay, Natalie is a senior and in the MSc program at Churchill High School. She earned the designation as a finalist and carries a weighted GPA of 4.57. Natalie plans to attend the University of Michigan Ann Arbor, where she's been accepted into the honors program. She is still deciding on a major, but is considering social sciences, business, or mathematics. When Natalie isn't studying, she serves as the all-school student council president at Churchill. She writes for the school newspaper. She's involved in Churchill's theatrical productions. She serves on the district school improvement team and volunteers at Grant Elementary. And there are actually more than that. We just picked the highlights. Natalie said she is grateful for the people she's met and for all of the opportunities she's been afforded here in Livonia Public Schools. Congratulations. Next up, we have Andrew DeLucas. Andrew with us? All right. Oh, yeah. Hi, Andrew. Come on around. There you are. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Okay, so Andrew DeLucas, is that how you say it? Okay. Is a senior at Churchill High School and was named a National Merit Finalist. He carries a weighted GPA of 4.58 and is a member of the National Honor Society Success Strategies Mentoring Program at Churchill. He's a member of the Churchill Marching Band, Varsity Quiz Bowl, and also is involved in the Boy Scouts of America. Andrew will attend the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign to major in actuarial science to prepare for a career as an actuary. He said he has enjoyed the sense of community at his school, particularly in band and the MSc program, where he has made great friends who have shaped him for the better. So congratulations. Next up, we have Joanna Garret. I've also known Joanna since she was a little brownie in our brownie troop at Grant Elementary years back. There you are, Joanna. Joanna is a senior in the MSc program at Churchill High School. She earned the designation of finalist and carries a weighted GPA of 4.52. She is involved in Livonia Warriors' first robotics team. Wow, what a season you guys had, huh? Churchill Color Guard, Student Council, National Honor Society, Choir, and Kappa Vocal. She plans to major in software engineering at Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology in Indiana. Career plans include computer programming, robotics, or software engineering. She said she's most grateful for the MSc program, commenting that she definitely would not be where she is today without it. So congratulations, Joanna. Next up, we have Rachel Hance. Hope I'm saying that correctly. Certificate. Okay, Rachel Hance is a senior at Stevenson High School. She earned the designation as a finalist and carries a weighted GPA of 4.5. I'm seeing a trend here, are you? She volunteers at Our Camp, which is a summer camp for children with special needs. She is a catechism class assistant, and she's involved in National Honor Society and the Recycling Club. She plans to attend Central Michigan University as part of the Centralis Honors Community. She's been awarded the Full Ride Centralis Honor Scholarship Award. Rachel is undecided on a major, but she knows she wants to minor in American Sign Language. You know that part for sure, right? All right. She has most enjoyed the Stevenson community and getting to know her teachers and her amazing friends. So congratulations, Rachel. Next up, we have Matthew Kavor. Hi, Matthew. Come on around. Congratulations. Okay, Matthew, did I say that correctly? Kavor? Is a senior at Churchill High School and is a National Merit finalist. He carries a weighted GPA of 4.6 and serves as president of the National Honor Society. Matthew is also the secretary for Churchill's Success Strategies Mentoring Program. He is on the Quiz Bowl team and the Churchill debate team. He writes for the Charger Herald and is a member of the Spanish Honor Society. He's also he's active in his church and is also an Eagle Scout in Troop 782. Matthew will be attending Brown University as a member of the program for liberal medical education, which is Brown's direct med program. He is considering a major in cognitive neuroscience or a double major in behavioral decision science and statistics. He aspires to be a doctor in the field of oncology, neurosurgery, or pediatric emergency medicine. Matthew said that he has loved the down-to-earth nature of the faculty and students at Churchill and has really enjoyed the diversity at the school as well. So congratulations. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Abigail Melnichenko. Did I say that correctly? Let's go. There you are. Congratulations. Abigail Melnichenko is a commended student in the National Merit Program. She's a senior at Stevenson High School, where she carries a 4.47 weighted GPA. While participating in numerous clubs and activities, including Student Council, NHS, the Ski Club, the Elves Program, dance classes, and she holds 2 jobs. How do you do all that? Oh my goodness. She plans to attend Bowling Green State University in Ohio next year, where she will major in graphic design and minor in advertising. Her dream is to work for a company or an ad agency as a graphic designer, copywriter, or art director. While in LPS, Abby has loved all of the opportunities afforded to her, including the wide variety of classes and programs that are offered through the art department and through the Livonia Career Technical Center. Here's a quote from Abby. There are many kids from other districts who have told me they wish that they had the types of courses and experience that LPS has to offer, and for that I am truly blessed. Congratulations, Abby. Next up, we have Christopher ONeill. Hi, Christopher. Come on around. So glad you ducked under that TV monitor. There's your certificate. Congratulations. Okay, so Christopher ONeill is a senior in the MSc program at Churchill High School, where he carries a 4.37 weighted grade point average while participating in marching band as a section leader and mentoring through success strategies. He earned the designation of finalist in the National Merit Program. Christopher plans to attend the University of Michigan to major in engineering. The best aspect of his years in LPS has been being in the MSc program at Churchill. So thank you so much, Christopher. Next up, we have Timothy Otaki. Hey, Timothy. There you are. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay, so Timothy is a senior in the MSc program at Churchill High School, where he has a weighted GPA of 4.6. Timothy is a finalist in the National Merit Competition and plans to attend Michigan State University to major in mechanical engineering. He plans to become an automotive engineer. During his years at Churchill, Tim has been involved in NHS, Spanish National Honor Society, Success Strategies, Student Council, varsity tennis, varsity swim, and varsity baseball. You're a busy guy, too. His favorite aspect of LPS is that he believes the district has put a lot of effort into making each student's educational and overall experience very individualized. So, thank you very much. Thanks for your Next up, we have Matthew Roadman. Matthew, come on around. Congratulations. There you are. Okay, Matthew Roadman is a senior at Churchill High School and carries a weighted GPA of 4.59. Matthew received the commended designation and serves as the president of the Success Strategies Peer Mentoring Club. He also plays varsity tennis. He serves on the St. Edith Youth Group leadership team and is involved in National Honor Society, National Spanish Honor Society, and is a staff writer on the Charger Herald. He plans to attend the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor to major in engineering. His LPS comment is as follows, and I'll quote, "The tremendous staff has encouraged me to achieve my fullest potential and to strive to go above and beyond. I cannot thank them enough for their hard work and dedication." Congratulations, Matthew. Next up, we have Colinas Avella. Colinas, did she make it? Nope, okay. Well, we'll talk about Colinas even though she's not here. I'll go ahead and read her entry here. Colinas is a senior at Stevenson High School and received the commended status in the National Merit Program. She carries a weighted GPA of 4.47 and is involved with the Stevenson Varsity Quiz Bowl and the Spectrum Literary Arts Magazine. She plans to major in computer science at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, where she has received a full ride scholarship. Her career goal is software development. When asked what she has enjoyed most about LPS, she said the teachers. So congratulations, Colinas. Next up, we have Mathy Siva. Behind me here. There you are. Okay, Mathy is a senior at Stevenson High School and was named a finalist in the National Merit Scholarship Program. She carries a weighted GPA of 4.43 while being involved in a number of outside activities, such as the Livonia Youth Symphony Orchestra, St. Mary's Hospital, is serving as a student teacher volunteering at St. Mary's Hospital, and serving as a student teacher at the Canton Hindu Temple. She has received a full ride scholarship to the University of Texas, where she plans to study to become a neurologist. She is thankful to the educators in LPS who truly wanted to see her learn and thrive. Thank you very much for being here. And our final honoree is Raquel Wick. Raquel with us this evening? Okay, we will go ahead and tell you all about Raquel as well. Raquel Zwick is a senior at Churchill High School and was named a finalist in the National Merit Program. She carries a weighted GPA of 4.6 while running cross-country and being involved in NHS. She's also involved in Spanish National Honor Society and Partners in Health Engage project. She plans to attend Michigan State University to major in human biology with the goal of someday becoming a doctor. She has enjoyed the LPS staff who have encouraged, motivated, and who have given her confidence in herself as a person and academically. So congratulations to Raquel. Let's give Raquel her own. And if you would indulge us all in one final round of applause for all of these honorees. They truly are.
other questions or comments from the board members?
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, wow. Wow.
Fantastic.
Sums it up. Yes. When do these folks sleep?
They don't.
Congratulations.
They don't.
Our next group of honorees this evening is item 3C, LPS Points of Pride High School DECA programs. Mrs. Jenkins.
Okay, thank you, President Burton. Tonight we continue highlighting our points of pride by bringing students in from the DECA program at Stevenson and Franklin High Schools. These students recently competed at the International Conference in California, and they would love to share some of their experiences with you, as well as talk about the DECA program at their school and what it means to them. DECA is an international organization that prepares emerging leaders and entrepreneurs in careers in marketing, finance, hospitality, and management. Participating in the international conference from our school district were Connor Beck, Maya Fellows, Branden Fennec, Charlie Kowalsky, Kaylee McCarthy, Jeremy Webb, Aaron Weidenbeck, and Kyle Johnson. A few from the group have joined us this evening, and I would love for them to join me at the podium and kind of like line up one behind one another and introduce yourselves as you approach the podium. They each have a different aspect about DECA that they would like to share. So I will turn it over to the students in any order you wish. We have Kaylee, Brendan, Charlie, and Kyle. Is that right? Okay.
Okay, well, thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Kaylee McCarthy. I'm a senior at Stevenson High School, and this was my first year actually in the DECA program. I had one of the best experiences, and I'd like to share that with you all. So, going into this being my first year, I didn't really know what to expect. I attended the meeting with my teacher, Mrs. Antonelli, and she pretty much told us all about it, that students had to pick an event that they needed to compete with at districts, states, or internationals. And most of them started off at districts. So the competition would be written events, it would be role plays, or it would be presentations. I chose to do Principles of Hospitality and Tourism, which would be a role play. So pretty much what that entails is I would take a 100-question test, and then with that, I would start off at districts and pretty much present in front of a judge. And to explain that to my parents, it was pretty hard because it's just a one-on-one thing with a judge. So learning that myself and trying to explain that was kind of tough, so I'll try my best. So I pretty much we get no prep time. So, we get 10 minutes of prep time, and we get no time to rehearse pretty much. We just go right into it. So, when I started off at districts at Eastern Michigan University, I went into a room with other competitors and sat down and waited for a little bit. And then I got called back to a table with other competitors, and we were given 10 minutes. We were given a scenario. And so that scenario would be about my event, hospitality, and tourism. So that was I remember that it was about working at a hotel, and I had to explain the scenario, which would be explaining how to work at the front desk and other things, but that was just the gist of it. And I had to present that to a judge. So I had 10 minutes, I had a pencil and a piece of paper, and I had to show creativity, I had to communicate, and I had to show prior knowledge. So that was a lot of fun. It was definitely a great time because the scenario included something that I want to pursue a career in, which is working at a hotel. And so districts went really well. I learned at the award ceremony that I would be moving on to states. And so that was definitely great news, and I was really excited. So at states, which was in Detroit, we stayed in a hotel for a weekend, and it was just really awesome and interesting being surrounded by other competitors that were trying to pursue a career in business, which was awesome. And so I competed at states, and that was a little bit different. I had 2 role plays instead of 1, and then 1 more 100-question test. So those are merged together to give an average of your points. And so after I competed, which was really, really fun, I learned that I would be moving on to California. And that was awesome news because I didn't expect that at all. So hearing that, I just felt really proud of myself and gave me some more confidence to pursue that career in my future. So we ended up, a handful of us at Stevenson and Mrs. Antonelli, going to Anaheim, and that was one of the coolest experiences. I'm just really thankful that I had this opportunity to not only learn more, but just feel more confident and more passionate about something that I want to do for the rest of my life. So even though I was only in it for a year, I definitely want to thank Mrs. Antonelli for this amazing opportunity that I'll remember for pretty much the rest of my life. So thank you.
Hello, I am Charles Kowalsky. I also attend Stevenson High School. I'm a junior, and this was my second year in DECA. My story is a little different than hers. Towards November, I decided to run for state officer for Michigan DECA, so I was preparing for that. So basically preparing, and then I went to an interview process early February where I got selected along with 15 other people to campaign at the state conference and then hopefully be elected. So at the state conference, I gave a 2-minute speech in front of 4,000 students that are eager like me to learn about being a leader and entrepreneur and pitching my ideas and hopes for Michigan DECA and for hope for their vote. So after a very long Saturday and sleepless nights, I woke up Sunday and learned that I was elected as a Michigan DECA state officer to serve the 8,500 students in Michigan DECA. Well, what I'm here to share is really the leadership opportunities and what you learn in DECA, not so much the competing. DECA's mission statement, which was said earlier, is DECA prepares emerging leaders and entrepreneurs in the world of marketing, finance, hospitality, and management, and that's really what it does. It really helps you with that. It's whether you're competing or doing what I did, it grows you as a person. DECA will help you academically prepare for college. It will community orientate you, as in DECA you really learn what the community does for you as we're getting recognized by the school board. It also professionally develops you as you have super high standards in DECA, so that really prepares you for when you're going to like an interview or you have a really high job somewhere. It's really where you're held to high standards and it really helps you. So other than state officer, which there's 8 of us, that's it. You can also be a chapter officer, which I was this year, where you just with your school, which you help people hopefully move on to the state conference and then hopefully Anaheim. You can also attend the state leadership conference, which is held in every November, where you do leadership workshops, where basically it really is helping you become a better leader and preparing you for the world after high school. Without my advisor, my lovely advisor, Mrs. Antonelli, I was truly blessed with her. She encouraged me the whole way. I don't think I would ever have ran for state office without with her being my advisor. So I was truly lucky having her as one of the best advisors in DECA. I just wanted to thank her, and I can't wait for what next year has in for store.
Hi everyone, my name is Branden Fennec, and this is my 3rd year in DECA. Junior year, I did the competitive events just like Kaylee did. I started off at districts and I moved on to states. And at the state conference, unfortunately, I did not make it to internationals, which at that time was in Nashville, Tennessee. But later I received the news from Mrs. Antonelli that she selected me for a leadership program in Nashville, Tennessee for DECA students. And that academy was called Elevate, and inside of that academy, they prepared you to become a leader and the president of DECA for the next year. It was all for juniors, and that was probably the most exhilarating experience I've ever felt. I've never been that far away from home before, so going to Nashville, Tennessee without my parents was definitely something different. But the academy was probably one of the coolest things I've ever been in. They really did a good job of forcing you to meet new people. So as soon as you got comfortable at a table, they would hurry up and scatter all the tables around and make sure that you met new people. There were, I think, over 400 kids in just one academy, and there were several ones throughout. So that was really cool just to learn the knowledge that I needed to become a president. I learned leadership skills. I learned everything I needed to run a successful organization for the next year. And senior year came around, and I did the same thing. I did districts and states, and unfortunately, again, I didn't make it. But once again, I was selected for another leadership academy that would be taking place in Anaheim, California. This academy was called Aspire, and this was for only for seniors, where you would gain the knowledge and anything you needed to help your future, so throughout college and beyond. I think that was definitely, I liked it a lot more than I liked the other academy, just because they try to make it as fun as they could for the seniors. Same situation, they'd switch up all the tables so you wouldn't know who you were with. I tried to stay by my partner Maya, but they separated us as soon as they saw that we were from the same school. And all the different workshops that we experienced really did open my eyes and help me a little bit, especially with my finances. Since I'm going to be going to Michigan State in the fall, I have to learn to organize and save my money to where I would be successful and later in life. And probably one of the most important things that I learned in Aspire was that you don't have to take the ordinary route. You can do whatever you want, and you don't have to follow a certain path. You don't have to follow in your family's footsteps. And they did a really nice job of just opening your eyes and letting anything be the possibility. And I just wanted to thank Miss Antonelli, because without these experiences and this opportunity, I would have never been able to do this. And I just wanted to thank her, because she's by far one of the best teachers I've ever had, and she means the world. So thank you.
My name is Kyle Johnson. I am the single representative from Franklin High School, and first and foremost, I'd like to thank the Board of Education for having us here this evening. And I'd also like to extend a thanks to my DECA advisor, Mrs. Roberts. She unfortunately can't be with us here tonight, but she did play a huge hand in getting me to where I am today and helping push me to become the best that I can be. And I truly feel that I could not have gotten to where I am without her, and I truly thank her for that, especially in terms of her financial help. She and the school and LPS all helped me get to Anaheim, California through their school stores, through their fundraising, through their just immense help in getting me where I am today, and I thank them for that. And because of how much help they put in, as far as I know, I am the first international finalist from Franklin High School and in their history. So I just wanted to thank her for that, and thank all of LPS and all of you for all the help you've provided me along the way. And something, just since this is the last one, something a little more brevity-esque than the rest of the others. I think DECA, something they don't really mention much, but is really important, is they teach you the reality of business and what really goes on behind the scenes. And it's really interesting to me because you do get to meet a lot of strangers, a lot of people who you don't know, and you do have to connect with them very quickly and very honestly and openly. And a lot of people went into the tests, went into the role plays, and would try to shake others up and say stuff like, oh, I've been studying since this week. But I could never quite grasp what they were studying, because it's all role play and it's all random and it's all like improv, so I don't know what they were studying. And usually the people who said that ended up going home, so. And just one more thing I noticed about the reality of business that DECA teaches is the more put together and the more serious and the more unopen somebody looked, the less they actually knew. Because the reality of my business in DECA is that you do have to connect with other people, and you do need to be someone who can talk to others and look at others and see others for who they are and help them. But the more put together you look, the more off-putting you are. And I think that's something that we could all learn from, and we could all be a little bit more open and honest with each other all the time. And I think that's something DECA teaches us.
Are there questions or comments from the board or the superintendent?
Congratulations.
Very
Yes,
impressive.
congratulations.
Outstanding.
Very impressive. Great job.
It is our thrill to see so many different groups of our students be able to show their accomplishments and have us celebrate with you. Not only is it during this meeting tonight, but this meeting is replayed throughout. It's on cable right now. Folks are watching at home, and believe it or not, there are a number of folks out there who come up and tell us that they do watch from home. And it's also available on our website on an ongoing basis. So we celebrate with you, and we are excited that others can continue to celebrate with you also. It is a thrill for me to see so many diverse groups of our students come in and show off what they've learned, what they've done, what they've accomplished, because that's exactly why we all want to have our kids in Livonia Public Schools. Our children each have such different routes that they're going to go, and it is my thrill and my honor that we can offer so many different avenues that our kids can go down and explore. And congratulations to all of you who are here tonight for really hitting the top of each one of your areas. You ought to be really proud of yourselves, and we're proud of you. Our next item on our agenda, Mrs. Jenkins, is there anything else this evening? Nope. Okay. Our next item on our agenda is item 3D, district update from our superintendent, Mrs. Andrea Oquist.
Thank you, President Burton. So again, I want to congratulate all of our recognized students who are here this evening. We're going to take a break in just a few minutes, and then your portion of the evening will be wrapped up. But I can tell you, and I can only imagine for the parents and grandparents and family members here, if we are filled with as much pride as I know we are tonight, I know you are as well. So I congratulate all of the family members who are here this evening, and certainly all of our students. If I could just have all of our students who are recognized this evening stand one more time. Without question, our world is going to be better off as you head into it. So I know some of you are juniors, but most of you are seniors. We can't wait to watch you come across the stage in just a few weeks at commencements, and we truly wish you all the best as you move forward. I have some other recognitions across the district I'd like to share with you. Last week, our Emerson Middle School students had the opportunity to participate in Civil War Days. I don't know if any of you are former Emerson students, but it is coordinated by the Social Studies Department at the school. Students participate in a wide variety of hands-on experiences, and they had an opportunity to hear a debate between two former presidents, Abraham Lincoln and Jefferson Davis, and the presentation was a first for the annual Civil War Days at Emerson. It was the culmination of a hands-on history lesson that took place the couple of days prior, where students experience how to conduct battlefield drills, soldier camp life, weapons of the era, and even experience a rare 1836 cannon. So I wanted to acknowledge the Emerson staff who coordinated this. We had a chance to go over and visit. And I'd also like to thank the reenactors from the Livonia-based 17th Michigan Company E and Bledsoe's Battery, who really have been mainstays as part of the Civil War reenactments at Emerson. They take time, they volunteer their time, and they were doing a tremendous job. So well done, Emerson. Let's give them Arbor Day was recently celebrated. I believe this is the 19th celebration of Arbor Day in the city of Livonia. Each year, one school is selected to be the host for Arbor Day, and that was Hoover Elementary School this year. Very appropriate that Hoover was chosen this year. They have an Eco Action Team, which aims to implement the Eco Schools USA guidelines to become a green flag school through the National Wildlife Federation. They are involved in many different activities with regard to recycling, energy conservation. They have a butterfly garden and practice healthy lifestyles. The mayor was there. I know many members of our board and also members of the community were there. The Arbor Day celebration, again, has become an annual event since 1998, and we were so pleased to host that this year at Hoover Elementary. So thank you. The students sang some wonderful songs and did just a great job putting that event together. I'd like to recognize a number of our students who became Eagle Scouts. So if you'll just indulge me a few moments while I share with you the names of those students. They come from Boy Scout Troop 1539 of Plymouth. They recently recognized 5 new Eagle Scouts. The first is William Gardner, who began his scouting career in first grade when he joined the Cub Scouts. He's a junior at Churchill High School. He participates in the MSc program, plays trumpet in the Churchill Marching Band and Wind Ensemble, and he plans on attending college for aerospace engineering and is considering attending Purdue University or Georgia Institute of Technology. The next one, I am hoping I pronounced this correctly, Zachary Buckelheimer. Is that correct for anyone who might know Zachary? Close? Thank you, Natalie. First joined the Cub Scouts with Cub Scout Pack 852. He is also a senior at Churchill and enjoys staying involved in the National Honor Society as vice president, is a 4-year tutor with the Success Strategies, and plays the bass in the school orchestra. He plans on studying economics and political science in the fall. Evan Zobel, who also began his scouting journey in Cub Scout Pack 852 in Livonia, is a senior at Churchill High School. He enjoys participating on the Livonia Warriors robotics team, and he plans to study physics or engineering at either Michigan State or the University of Michigan. And finally, Jared and Colin Parker, identical twins, who started their scouting path all the way back in first grade. They are both seniors at Churchill High School. They play the trumpet in the marching band. And after graduation, they plan to attend Michigan State University and pursue an education in engineering. So congratulations. It is a long and arduous process to which you must remain very, very committed to earn the rank of Eagle Scout. So congratulations to each of our students for that honor. I want to recognize Cass Elementary, who recently held just a tremendous 50th anniversary celebration and farewell gathering as their school is closing this year. It was certainly a bittersweet time for families, but one of the tremendous aspects of the evening were the number of staff, families, students who came back to visit Cass, to see the memorabilia. They opened a time capsule, and they shared many, many special memories. I believe there was also a teacher there who began her career when Cass opened, and she returned back. We had a teacher who drove all the way from Florida for the event and had former administrators. It was just a wonderful evening. I want to thank Bridget Regan, the principal, Jen Wilson, the EST, and Jamie Jewell, the PTA president, and I'm sure many, many others who coordinated what was really a tremendous event that night. And they had some pretty cool food trucks as well. Oh. That was just a side note. Last night, I did not have a chance to see it, but I know I wanted to give a shout out to Nash Abrams, who was featured on a national television show called Little Big Shots. And Nash is a 5th grade student at Riley Upper Elementary School, who is now pretty famous. His demonstration on the show was his ability to juggle while riding a unicycle, a skill he's been able to do for several years. Considering he's probably around 10, that's pretty good. Yeah. Abram and his parents, Sam and Teresa, own Cirque Among Us in Livonia, and he has been around circus stunts his whole life. They have traveled the world, performing in places such as libraries, schools, festivals, and college basketball halftime shows. So congratulations to Nash. Did anyone get a chance to see that? Did you watch it? Awesome. Great. Just a few more notes. As you know, we regularly share out information on our Community with Character initiative, which is part of our district's climate and culture work. And so Dr. Terriel has recently shared the new installment in the area of confidence. And so that has been shared with all of our staff. I want to thank her for her continued commitment to creating this new entry each month, which is a tremendous resource to our staff. It is also available on our website as well, and Mrs. Jenkins has that link there. I'd like to share with you, we just mentioned Cass's farewell party. Garfield is planning theirs. For Thursday, May 25th, it will be held from 6 to 8 p.m. I'd like to invite those who have a connection with Garfield who would like to celebrate that wonderful school community. They will have a petting zoo, ice cream, a hot dog dinner, and student music concerts to celebrate. Just a couple more quick notes. Churchill Athletics recently held its signing day this year. We had 28 Charger athletes who committed to playing their sport in college. Certainly that does not happen very often, and we had, it was the largest number of athletes to sign at Churchill High School in one single signing day. So congratulations to all of our student athletes, not only at Churchill, but across the district. Huge commitment to move on to that next level. I wanted to acknowledge the Livonia AM Rotary, who held a couple of terrific events this weekend. One of them was called Touch a Truck. It was just a wonderful event held at Rotary on Saturday morning. It was absolutely packed and really a dream come true for our kids who were there. They had an opportunity to climb up into dump trucks and big rigs, and we had one of our new school buses there, and there were probably, oh goodness, well over a dozen vehicles, and so many gracious community members who gave their time. And I cannot tell you, I don't think I've seen that many happy 3 to 10-year-olds running around as we saw on Saturday morning. So I just wanted to thank Livonia AM Rotary for that wonderful opportunity for our community. They also collected donations for a number of different groups. And one of those groups is the Livonia LPS Foundation. So I wanted to thank Livonia AM Rotary, who continue to be just tremendous partners in the educational community. And it is the season of Honors Night, and soon the exciting season of commencement. We've had the opportunity to begin the Honors Night this past week with Stevenson. I believe tomorrow night is Churchill, and then we'll move on to Franklin and then our middle schools. It is just a tremendous opportunity for our students to be recognized for their accomplishments, for our staff to coordinate those events, and I think a pretty special night for our parents as well. So we look forward to that, and we look forward to commencement ceremonies in just a couple of weeks. So. Thank you, President Burton.
Thank you. Yes, Mrs. Bonfield?
Thank you for the shout out to Livonia AM Rotary, but I really want to make sure everyone knows it was really the interactors that put all that together. Our high school Rotary group with Grant Sobchak,
Yes.
who many of you have probably seen on TV before, put that together and did the effort, and we helped them get a couple of trucks and stuff, but really it was all about them making this a successful event. And I think they estimated that we had over 3,000 people there for a first-time event, which was amazing for those kids. And it was all the interactors and the kids. So we're very proud of them.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Bonnefield. They were all over the place. I will tell you, they had their Rotary T-shirts on, and they were coordinating everything from welcoming people, helping with guiding to parking and to the events, helping students get onto the equipment and passing, gathering donations. Truly another huge point of pride for our district to have our students involved in that way. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As you can see and hear, there is so much to be proud of. We are going to take a brief 5 to 10 minute recess at this time, so those of you who are in attendance this evening can congratulate our honorees of the evening. We are at recess right now. Thank you. Welcome to the continuation of the Livonia Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting of May 15th, 2017. We had a number of honorees this evening, so thank you for your patience if you hung in there with us during our break while we congratulated them. We are now at the point of our agenda on item 3E, written communications. Do any members of the board have any written communications they would like to share? Seeing none, we are at 3F, audience communications. Audience communications is a time that the board sets aside in order to listen to members of our community. This is a listening time for us as opposed to a question and answer time period. We do ask that folks who choose to participate in audience communications honor the policy of 3 minutes per person. The purpose for that request is so that everyone can have a fair amount of time and that all those who wish to be heard can do so. Mr. Johnson has been our timekeeper for quite a while now. If you are speaking and you hear a beep going off, that is your 3 minutes, and if you could conclude your comments, that would be appreciated. We have gone to this procedure a while back because we found it's more polite than interrupting a speaker. So if you do participate and if you hear the timer go off, if you could comply, that would be appreciated. I'll also let you know at this time what the role of the Board of Education is as opposed to the role of the administration in our school district and the staff. The role of the Board of Education is primarily threefold. First, it is to hire and evaluate our superintendent, and we are thrilled to pieces to have Mrs. Oquist as our superintendent. Second is to set policy for the district. And third is to set the long-term goals and match the finances to those goals. While it's rather broad in scope, most day-to-day items do not fall under the role of the Board of Education. Most items fall in the day-to-day operations of the district, and those all are under the responsibility of the superintendent and our administration and our staff. Therefore, if you have a specific question, if it pertains to the role of the Board of Education, your question may be answered by the Board of Education. If your question that you're requesting a written response on pertains to more of the day-to-day operations of our district, you can expect that answer to come from a member of our administrative team. At this time, I do have 2 blue slips. I believe one gentleman who had a blue slip here has left at this time and was going to be discussing his concern with a member of our administration team. Michael Heath. Is Mr. Heath still present this evening, or has he? Mr. Francis, Mr. Heath is the one who.
Yes,
right. Okay. He had to leave, but you've already spoken with him and you're taking care of his concerns.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. I have a blue slip from Rob Dzwicki. Rob? Welcome this evening.
I guess everybody just left before I...
We're still here.
No, I never get a good audience. Yeah, I'm Rob Dzwicki. Yeah, we've got the cabinet. We love these guys. I'm not an unfamiliar face, obviously, to this board. I'm here often speaking on behalf of our local PTA units, Perrinville, formerly Jackson Center now, and often with the Livonia PTSA Council, occasionally talking about giving grants through my family's foundation, Taking Action for Friends, Family, and Youth. But I'm really busy, so I have another organization I've been working with called the St. Baldrick's Foundation, which is the single largest funder of pediatric cancer research in the world now, really, that's non-governmental. The way they raise money is by sponsoring these head shaving events run by volunteers like myself, where on Sunday, this coming Sunday, about 100 people are going to shave their heads in solidarity with kids with cancer. They will be, they've already been raising money. They've already raised over $90,000. So it's going to be a great year. But I wanted to tie that into Livonia Public Schools by talking about an extracurricular activity being undergone by one of your administrators here in Livonia Public Schools, namely Mr. John Wenstrom, who has joined the fight. And will be shaving his head approximately 4 o'clock, maybe 4:30. He's driving back from Chicago on a special engagement to do this. And I wanted to just thank our trustees and our superintendent and the cabinet for being the type of community and the type of district that hires these type of folks, the type of folks who go to work and they are an amazing administrator and they take care of their school then, and then they leave work in the evenings and on the weekends. We all know John's a Rotarian. He's just a great member of the community. He did a polar plunge in Detroit during the winter as well. It's pretty chilly. I told him I'm going to do it with him next year. But John, is one of those perfect examples of what makes LPS great. Whether it's the students that we saw in the last part of the session there that make the district great. It's people like that help that. So if you'd like to see him, May 21st at the Plymouth Rock, 1020 Ann Arbor Road. It's the old boulders, the old Holly by Gollies, if you've been around since the 80s like myself. It looks great now, though. They've done a full build-out and remodel in the last 5 years or so. But you'll be joining about 500 to 600 people coming out to watch the show. I will promise to protect all of your hair. Though if we come to Livonia, I may be asking Dan or Mark maybe. Maybe even Colleen, who knows? Maybe in the future sometime.
I'm going to offer up Mr. Archibald.
Mr. Archibald?
There you go.
It's funny. Mr. Archibald already offered. It was so nice of him. He's one of our full-year supporters, if you couldn't tell. But again, thank you so much for being the district that you are. Obviously, I'm very involved, and I try and make it that same way. But to know that it goes at the administrative end as well, it's very heartening. With all the work that's being done. So, again, May 21st, about 4 if you want to see John. You can come earlier if you'd like.
Thank you. Thank you. Yay.
The next item on our agenda this evening is item 3G, response to prior audience communications. I do not have any responses at this time. Brings us to item 4, consent agenda. May I have a motion, please?
President Burden.
Mr. Centers.
Move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District approve the following consent agenda items as recommended by the superintendent. 5A, minutes of the regular meeting of April 17th, 2017. 7A, bills for payment.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Centers, supported by Mrs. Bonifield. Are there any questions or comments on the consent agenda at this time? Seeing none, we have a motion by Mr. Centers, supported by Mrs. Bonifield. And Mr. Centers, would you please take the roll?
Mr. Centers says yes. Mrs. Bonifield.
Yes.
Mrs. Bradford.
Yes.
Mrs. Jarvis.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
President Burden.
Yes.
Mrs. Frank.
Yes.
Sorry. Thank you.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is item 6, instruction matters, and 6A is the approval to purchase computers for the Livonia Career Technical Center. May I have a motion, please?
President Burton.
Mr. Johnson.
Move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District approve the purchase of 28 HP Z240 computers, 28 22-inch monitors, and additional memory for Livonia Career Technical Center in the amount of $49,308.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Johnson, supported by Mrs. Bradford. Mr. Archibald, would you like to address this item for the board tonight?
Yes, thank you, President Burton. First thing I want to point out, when we brought this to the committee, the dollar amount for this purchase was about $6,000 higher than is listed here. And that is because at the time that we got the initial price and this, the information on the bid list had been updated. So this reflects the most current list on that price. Also, at the committee meeting, one of our board members asked where we stood with respect to remaining funds, and Mr. Anderson and Mrs. Smith are in close contact and assure us that those funds will be zeroed out by the end of this school year. And for example, Mr. Anderson always has a list, and that $6,000, he is now eyeing a new tire changer for the auto program. So, again, the added cost funds will be zeroed out by the end of the year. The computers specifically in this purchase will replace computers currently being used by the students in the website design and interactive media class, and the mobile applications and game design development classes. The new equipment recommended to us by the advisory that has members from the industry that work with the teacher will help make sure that our students are using the most up-to-date technology capable of running the virtual reality and 3D software and so forth used today in the industry.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments from the superintendent or the board? Mrs. Bonifield.
If either Mrs. Oakwist or Steve, if you could fill us in, just talk a little bit about the CTE fund and why we are using those funds to purchase the computers at the Career and Technical Center.
I can, but if I ask Allison to do it, it'll make a lot more sense to you.
Mrs. Smith, would you fill us in, please?
Sure. We receive money from the state through our state aid payment, specifically to support our college and career technical program at the LCTC. The state recognizes that there's added costs to running the program above and beyond what normal high school classes cost to run. And so each year we are given funds that we have to specifically use to cover those added costs of the program. And so I do work very closely with Mr. Anderson to come up with a budget every year to support all the different programs that they run in the college. And he very closely watches it, and we every year do spend all the funds that are given to us. So these funds, again, are specifically earmarked for the Career Center and also the voc ed programs at each of the 3 high schools, and they have to be used for that specific purpose. We do a financial report at the end of the year to report back to the state how we spent those funds. So I can confirm that the computer purchase coming before you tonight is an allowable purchase with these funds.
And if I can just add to that, specifically, the funds generated are based on the students in the program, and as well as whether they complete a particular course and then what competency test they pass afterward. And that's where the different funding, or how the funds are generated.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Bonnefield. Are any other questions or comments from board members or the superintendent? Seeing none, we have a motion by Mr. Johnson, supported by Mrs. Bradford. Mr. Sanders, would you please take the roll?
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Bradford?
Yes.
Mrs. Bonnefield?
Yes.
Mrs. Frank?
Yes.
Mrs. Jarvis?
Yes.
Mr. Centers says yes. President Burden?
Yes. Motion passes. The next item on our agenda is item 7B, approval of bid results for Buchanan Paving Project Sinking Fund. May I have a motion, please?
President Burton.
Mrs. Frank?
Move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District approve the recommendation from the owner's representative, Plant Moran Cressa, to approve Nagel Paving Company from Novi, Michigan, for paving projects at Buchanan Elementary in the amount of $219,290 plus a contingency of $32,894 for a total of $252,100. One more time. $252,100.
We can do it.
Okay, one more time. $184 and authorize the superintendent of or her designee to negotiate and execute final contracts.
Support.
Do you want me to read it again?
That's all a little more difficult than it looks when you're on camera.
Karen Bradford, stop laughing. Do you want me to read it again, Mrs.
No, you're fine.
Wozniak?
You're fine.
Do you want me to read it again?
We're good. It's in writing.
You're fine. What was stated was what the written document in front of us.
Okay, great.
We have a motion by Mrs. Frank, supported by Mrs. Jarvis. Mr. Francis, would you please address this item for the board?
Sure, I'd love to. The project over at Buchanan actually originally had a much smaller scope at one point, but when during the school year, as we found that we were going to be adding students from Cass over to Buchanan, we did revisit the scope of the paving project over at Buchanan, and used our civil engineers from NTH to draw up some plans for the parking lot. We reviewed those plans at the district administrative level, along with Plant Moran Cressa, our owner's representative, and our consultants from NTH. And then I also had an opportunity to share it with the current principal, Ms. Carino, over at Buchanan. She shared it with the bus duty folks. They took a look at it, and I shared it with Mr. John Wenstrom, who will be the incoming principal next year. We all had a discussion about them, and they were all approving what it was. I do want to be really clear and not make it sound like it's massively different than it looks like now. I just want to, for clarification's sake, say that I think 9 out of 10 people other than seeing that it's freshly paved and painted, may not recognize grand differences. So just for those watching at home, etc., we have a finite amount of space that we can use. It was mentioned a couple weeks ago at our committee meeting, and I do know that the principal at Buchanan had to inform her PTA, or did inform her PTA recently, that we do not own the properties to either side of the long drive that goes in and out of the Buchanan parking lot. I know most people, us included, would love to be able to widen that drive in and out, but it's not possible because one side of it is owned by the church and the other side of it is owned by a private resident. So we are working within the confines that we have. There's some nips and some tucks on the asphalt project. There's going to be some geoblock, which helps for the radius turns of the buses and what they may run over and not destroy with a special blocking, and the painting for the flow. But everyone's on board, and we're going to work within the confines of what we have, and we're excited to get that project going. So we do recommend Nagel Paving to do this summer's work over at Buchanan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there questions or comments by the superintendent or the board? And Mr. Francis, this is a sinking fund project, correct?
This is, yes, thank you. I'm sorry. My mind is wandering. Yes, this is sinking
That's okay.
fund.
Just wanted to double
Apologize.
check and wanted to bring that to the attention of the public. This is money that the public in our community approves once about every 5 years or so, if I'm not mistaken. And it's for this very purpose. It is for large purchases to keep our facilities going, and it must be used for those types of purposes. We are not allowed to use it for books, for salaries, et cetera. It can only be for things such as paving, roofs, boilers, that type of item.
And if I may, since we're on the topic of the parking lot and doing it, most, as you all know, most of the paving projects, we come in after the major renovations and we do the parking lot for those schools. This one, a little different. We're doing the 2013 bond renovations in the summer of 18 at Buchanan, but because most of Buchanan has been done and the renovations that will be occurring in the summer of 18 at Buchanan will not require the heavy rigs and machinery that generally tend to beat up the asphalt at our other buildings. We are confident and comfortable doing the paving project this summer because we don't anticipate having the heavy equipment that would damage that parking lot in the summer of 18 during those renovations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, we have a motion by Mrs. Frank, supported by Mrs. Jarvis. Senator, would you please take the roll?
Mrs. Frank.
Yes.
Mrs. Jarvis.
Yes.
Mrs. Bonnefield.
Yes.
Mrs. Bradford.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Center says yes. President Burden.
Yes. Motion passes. The next item on our agenda tonight is item 7C, approval of bid results for Churchill Tennis Courts Sinking Fund. May I have a motion, please?
President Burton.
Mrs. Bonnefield.
Move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District approve the recommendation from the owner's representative, Plant Moran Cressa, to approve Nagel Paving Company, Novi, Michigan, for the demolition, earthwork, and asphalt in the amount of $486,775. Michigan Fence Outlet, Harrison Township, Michigan, in the amount of $94,650 for the perimeter fencing and net post, and Goddard Coating, Pontiac, Michigan, in the amount of $29,265 for surface coating, plus a contingency of $91,600 for a total of $702,290, and authorize the superintendent or her designee to negotiate and execute final contracts.
Support.
We have a motion by Mrs. Bonnefield, supported by Mr. Centers. Mr. Francis.
Yes. The project for Churchill High School is going to be completed in summer, fall of 2017 upcoming. I wanted to point out one piece that our other sinking fund, while this was not in our original plan or budget for the summer of 17 sinking funds, the pricing on so many of our other paving projects, et cetera, this summer came in as such that this ended up fitting within that budget still, so we were able to proceed forward with it. There were some questions about the history of the Churchill tennis courts. Last we spoke, some board members had that question. We did a little digging. We looked at the history, and I spoke to the athletic administrator over at Churchill. The best that I can find the records of, we basically have been doing some patching there with the seal cracking in 2012 and in 2016. Prior to that, it was 2001 that we did not what we're doing now, to be clear. It was more of a, instead of the filling the cracks, like a seal coat topping and then the painting over. So this will be the first, from the records I can find, that we're completely redoing that court.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the superintendent or the board? Mrs. Bonnefield.
Mr. Francis, can you recall what the estimated lifespan of a tennis court like that would be?
The way it's going to be done, you'll be confident to get 10 years out of the top part of it. Now, this is going to be much stronger than what we've had, considering how long we've gone with the original, but it would not be surprising that after a decade, you'd start seeing some cracks and have to maintain those. But it will be quite some time until we do a project like this again at that court, because this is going to be all new asphalt, which is, as you can see, the majority of this project.
And I guess my point was more to the other side, is that we've gone way past our reasonable expectations of life for the current tennis court.
Right, yes.
It's far outlived its expected life.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We've done quite well from the original, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Centers? Same
Got
thing?
it, covered it, yep.
Okay.
Just a minute, make a quick note.
Yes, absolutely, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Francis, for sharing that with us. And just to make a note that, as you may recall, as part of the bond approval, the language was limited in scope. And so the bond funds cannot be used for our athletic fields or surfaces such as tennis courts, football field, track areas, et cetera. It was limited only for the athletic areas to the new press boxes. And so, therefore, this would be coming out of the sinking fund, as would any repairs, for instance, to, again, the fields, the tracks, et cetera. And so this is part of the long-term plan where we've identified needs across all of our schools, and we'll chip away a bit at a time as we have the money to do so. And as Mr. Francis stated, we were under budget on a number of our items, and we were able to get this in. The courts, to my understanding, would really not have been usable past this season in the condition they were in, as far as safety of students, et cetera. So we're pleased to be able to get this project done, and done so thoroughly, and then we'll continue to bring forward to you over time the remainder of those types of projects, maybe not to this extent, but as needed, and again, based on safety and needs, so that we can continue to offer those programs to our students in the schools.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, we have a motion by Mrs. Bonnefield, supported by Mr. Centers. Mr. Centers, would you please take the roll?
Mrs. Bonnefield.
Yes.
Mr. Centers says yes. Mrs. Bradford?
Yes.
Mrs. Frank?
Yes.
Mrs. Jarvis?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
President Burden?
Yes. Motion passes. The next item on our agenda is item 7D, approval of resolution for Wayne Reese's 2017-2018 General Fund Operating Budget. May I have a motion, please?
President Burton.
Mrs. Jarvis.
Move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District adopt a resolution supporting the general fund operating budget of the Wayne County Regional Educational Service Agency, RESA, for the 2017-2018 school year.
Support.
We have a motion by Mrs. Jarvis, supported by Mrs. Bonnefield and others. I think I got Mrs. Bonnefield in there first. Let me see here. Mrs. Smith, would you please address this item for the board?
Thank you, President Burton. Section 624 of the revised school code requires the intermediate school board to submit its proposed budget no later than May 1st of each year to the board of each constituent district for review. The law also requires that no later than June 1st of each year, the board of each constituent district shall review the proposed intermediate school district budget, shall adopt a board resolution expressing its support for or disapproval of the proposed intermediate school district budget, and shall submit to the intermediate school board any specific objections and proposed changes the constituent district board has to the budget. If an intermediate school board receives any specific objections or proposed changes, the intermediate school board is required to consider the proposed budget changes. Wayne Risa is a regional educational service agency that provides a wide variety of services to children, families, and communities. The services Wayne Risa provides range from curriculum consulting, leadership and content coaching, and staff development to helping districts maximize technology in the classroom and in their business and administrative operations. The 2017-18 proposed budget was presented to the Wayne Risa Board of Education on April 19th and was also presented to the Wayne County Schools Superintendent Association on April 21st. The official district's hearing will be held at Wayne Risa on May 17th, with the budget also being presented for formal approval at the June 14th meeting of the board. Most funds have no significant changes from the current year. We note that the general fund proposes an operating deficit of approximately $500,000. The RISA general fund has used a small portion of its fund balance each of the last few fiscal years, but the fund balance remains a healthy $10 million. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Are there questions or comments from the superintendent or the board? Mrs. Smith, one thing that I did notice, the Wayne County Enhancement Millage dollars are included in this budget, I understand, but have gone down. I had looked at page 5 of the documents that we were being given.
Yep, I can speak to that if you'd like.
They went from 82 million in collection for county-wide, not for Livonia, but countywide, down to 79. And as I understand that, correct me if I'm wrong, is that reflects a more accurate dollars that are actually being collected right now.
Correct.
Because we'd like to say that everything gets collected on its due date, but that doesn't always happen in its entirety.
Correct, yep. They've also adjusted for lower property tax values than what they originally estimated when the millage was passed.
Okay. And then the portion that would go to Livonia Public Schools comes in to Livonia Public Schools after Wayne Risa collects that, or Wayne County collects it and passes it on to Risa.
Yep, they collect the taxes and then they distribute it out to all of the districts, all of the local educational agencies based on a per pupil distribution.
Okay, of what was collected, not necessarily what was due. So.
Yep, it is as it is collected is distributed to the districts.
Okay, all right, thank you. One other question, and I believe you hit it at the very beginning. We got this information as soon as it was, I'm sorry, you know what? Never mind. My question's going to be about another recent topic. So
okay.
We'll skip that. Never mind. I'll talk about that later. Any other questions or comments from the board or the superintendent? Seeing none, we have a motion by Mrs. Jarvis, supported by Mrs. Bonifield. Mr. Centers, would you please take the roll?
Mrs. Jarvis.
Yes.
Mrs. Bonifield.
Yes.
Mrs. Bradford.
Yes.
Mrs. Frank.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Centers says yes. President Burden.
Yes. Motion passes. The next item on our agenda is item 8, personnel matters, and 8A is leave of absence. May I have a motion, please?
President Burden.
Mrs. Bradford.
Move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the request for a leave of absence as listed below. Beth Uhas, date effective 2017-2018 school year.
Support.
We have a motion by Mrs. Bradford, supported by Mrs. Jarvis. Are there any questions or comments on this? Mr. McDonald, would you like to address this for us?
Sure. Thank you, President Burton. You have the name of one teacher before you requesting a leave for the 17-18 school year. This is in accordance with the collective bargaining agreement, and we support that you consider approving this request.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from board or superintendent? Seeing none, we have a motion by Mrs. Bradford, supported by Mrs. Jarvis. Mr. Centers, would you please take the roll?
Mrs. Bradford,
Yes.
Mrs. Jarvis,
Yes.
Mrs. Bonifield,
Yes.
Mrs. Frank,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Centers says yes. President Burden?
Yes. Motion passes. Item 8B is resignations. That is for board information. That is for information only. That is not an item on which the board votes. Item 8C is retirements, and may I have a motion, please?
President Burden,
Mr. Centers.
move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District adopt the attached resolution of appreciation for the services rendered by Frank Caruana, Jamie Poppinger, Todd Dixon, Kristen Rose Smith, Deborah Gorrich, Gloria Shepis, Susan Kreckler, Donna Sorge, Anita Lamore, Dawn Spinner, Roberta Lemieux, Linda Sterling, Linda Mullen, Karen Yee, Deborah Pulaski.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Centers, supported by Mrs. Bradford. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, President Burton. Tonight, we bring before you 15 employees who will be retiring. With them, as they leave Livonia Public Schools, they'll be taking with them 333.1 years of combined service. On behalf of the administration, I'd like to thank these employees for their dedicated years of service and the contribution that they've made in the lives of many of our students. And I ask that the board approve the attached resolutions of appreciation.
Thank you. Are there comments or questions by the superintendent or the board?
Congratulations. We wish them all the very best.
Absolutely. Congratulations and thank you. And it's always bittersweet. We're always excited for our employees who get to go to the next chapter of their lives, yet the historical knowledge that walks out the door with 331 years is enormous.
Significant.
We have a motion by Mr. Centers, supported by Mrs. Bradford. Mr. Centers, would you please take the roll?
Mr. Centers says yes. Mrs. Bradford,
Yes.
Mrs. Bonifield,
Yes.
Mrs. Frank,
Yes.
Mrs. Jarvis,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
President Burden.
Yes. Motion passes. The next item is item 9, hearing from board members. 9A is second reading of board policy DJE, purchasing, combining policies DJE, DJED, and DJEG. Good idea to combine them. May I have a motion, please?
President Burton,
Mr. Johnson.
move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District accept the recommendation of the Policy Committee and adopt board policy language per the attached document, which combines policies DJE, DJED, and DJEG into one policy, Board Policy DJE, purchasing, thereby eliminating policy DJED and policy DJEG.
We have a motion by Mr. Johnson, supported by Mrs. Frank. Mrs. Oquist, would you like to address this item for the board?
Well, I thought that easy for you to say, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah.
Who's on first?
This was a recommendation from our Director of Finance, Mrs. Smith, and so I'll ask that she review the policies that are being joined together and a brief reading of the final policy that you have here.
Thank you. We are continually reviewing our board policies and administrative procedures to make sure we are in compliance with them, and at times making recommendations to the board to update the policies and procedures to streamline them and also align them with district practices. It's with that in mind that I recommend we consolidate the 3 existing purchasing-related policies into one consolidated board policy, which I will now read for you. The board authorizes the superintendent and/or the superintendent's designee to purchase and/or supervise the purchase of all materials, equipment, supplies, and services necessary for the operation of the school district. It is the intent of the board that the school district purchase competitively from responsible vendors without prejudice or favoritism and seek maximum value for all expenditures. Competitive pricing is to be pursued by following legally required processes, as well as through such methods as cooperative purchasing, formal or informal bidding, request requests for quotations from multiple vendors, and negotiation. The board reserves the right to accept or reject any and all bids.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, we have a motion by Mr. Johnson, supported by Mrs. Frank. Mr. Centers, would you please take the roll?
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mrs. Frank.
Yes.
Mrs. Bonnefield.
Yes.
Mrs. Bradford.
Yes.
Mrs. Jarvis.
Yes.
Mr. Centers says yes. President Burden.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is 9B, first reading of Board Policy DJEA, purchasing cards. We are not taking a vote on this item at this time. However, whether it's Mrs. Oquist or Mrs. Smith, would one of you like to
I'll
address
start
this?
and then I'll turn it.
Okay, go right ahead.
So as you know, board members, we first discussed this at the study session earlier this past month, and then again most recently at our committee meeting. And I will have Mrs. Smith share a little bit about the background of the use of the purchasing cards and the intent of those, and also let you know that we've made the recommended changes to the administrative procedures, and those were sent to the Board of Education. And if you have any questions on those prior to a vote on this in June, certainly you're welcome to bring that to the upcoming committee meeting or a future meeting prior to our voting. At this time, I'd like to ask Mrs. Smith, our Director of Finance, to review the recommendation for this board policy.
Thank you. The business office strives to support our students and staff however we can. We recognize that some purchases are unable to run through our preferred purchasing method, which is the purchase order process. We believe that issuing purchasing cards to specific district administrators and providing administrators with very detailed guidelines will help meet a need in our district. Before rolling out a purchasing card program, we as a district are required to have a board policy in place. I appreciate the board giving me the opportunity to discuss this program in detail in our last few study sessions and committee meetings. And with that, I will read the proposed policy for you, as well as the first section of the administrative procedures too. Here is the board policy. The Board of Education views the use of credit cards as a convenient and efficient means of transacting school district-related business. The board authorizes the issuance and use of school district credit cards within the parameters set forth in the administrative procedures recommended by administration and reviewed by the Board of Education. The superintendent and/or the superintendent's designee shall be responsible for the issuance, accounting, monitoring, retrieval, and general oversight of the use of the district credit cards by employees. I'd also like to share with you just the beginning of the administrative procedures. The superintendent and/or the superintendent's designee shall be responsible for the issuance, accounting, monitoring, retrieval, and general overseeing the use of district credit cards by employees. Purchasing cards shall not be used to circumvent the general purchasing procedures required by state law and board policy. The district's preferred purchasing method will continue to be the purchase order method. Single transaction limits of $1,000 will be set and monitored by the superintendent and/or the superintendent's designee. This daily limit can be temporarily increased for a necessary and approved purchase with the approval of the superintendent and/or the superintendent's designee. And these, I just want to share with you, when we do roll out this program, we will be rolling out very detailed guidelines and procedures with our administrators that are issued the cards. For the board policy and the administrative procedures, it's again a condensed overview, but there will be a lot of detail when this actually does get rolled out to the administrators.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the superintendent or the board on this item?
Thank you for all the work.
Yes, thank you for all the research that went into putting this together. This, again, is an item that will not be voted upon this evening because this takes 2 readings at 2 general meetings. This is a first reading of this policy, and it will be voted upon at our next general meeting in June. Thank you, Mrs. Smith.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is 9C, approval of resolution for Wayne Risa board election. May I have a motion, please?
President Burton.
Mrs. Jarvis.
Move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District adopt a resolution to designate LPS Board Member Mark Johnson as the local district's Wayne Risa election representative, Karen Bradford as the alternate, and Mary Blackman and Danielle Funderburg as the Wayne Risa board candidates for whom a vote should be cast.
Do we have a second on this motion?
Second, sorry.
Or do we have a chorus of seconds? Mrs. Oquist, would you like to address this, or would you like me to address this item?
Excuse me one moment. Thank you, President Burton.
No problem.
As I confer with our resident expert here, Mrs. Wozniak. Again, so we, earlier this evening, voted on the delegate of Mr. Johnson and the alternative delegate in the event that Mr. Johnson is unable to fulfill his duties to vote at the Wayne County RISA Board meeting to move forward with regard to our recommendation to support two candidates for the Wayne County RISA Board election. So Mrs. Smith actually just a bit ago gave an overview of the services provided by Wayne County RISA. It is our regional educational services agency that serves all 33 school districts in Wayne County, certainly ours being one of them. They have their own Board of Education. Their election will be coming up on Monday, June 5th, and each local district has the opportunity to recommend candidates for that election and then also cast their votes in that regard. Earlier this evening, our board had an opportunity to discuss briefly the background of those three candidates. They also had the opportunity to receive that information, which we received from Wayne County RISA on Friday. That was sent to the Board of Education members to review the background on each of those candidates. So this evening, you would be voting on both the board member delegate that will be voting at the election on June 5th, the alternate, as well as the recommended candidates.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there questions or comments from board members at this time? Mrs. Bonfield.
I'm comfortable with the motion as suggested and will be voting for it.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments at this time? We had three very strong candidates and quite a bit of discussion. This is usually rather a black and white issue, and frankly, usually there are the number of candidates as there are seats. So it's not a whole lot of discussion to be had. But we did have three very strong candidates, and our Board of Education would like to express our thanks to all of those who were willing to serve in this manner, because it is a service to all the children in Wayne County. I also am in favor of this. All of the candidates, as I said, were very strong and would bring strength to that Board of Education. Mary Blackman, I know, has served for a number of years in this capacity and was instrumental in helping to get the word out about the Wayne County Enhancement Millage, which benefited all the children in Wayne County. That being said, with the other two candidates, I'm very much in favor of having one of the candidates from the Detroit Public Schools and one from one of the suburban districts also, which the other two candidates, in my opinion, were very close. They each had strengths. However, Danielle Funderburg is also from the Romulus School District, as opposed to both of our candidates that our board is supporting being from the Detroit District. And just so that we have that variety and that those different perspectives, I'm also in favor of putting forth these two candidates from Livonia Public Schools as far as our support. Are there any other comments or questions? We have a motion by Mrs. Jarvis, supported by Mrs. Frank. Mr. Centers, would you please take the roll?
Yeah. Mrs. Jarvis.
Yes.
Mrs. Frank.
Yes.
Mrs. Bonnefield.
Yes.
Mrs. Bradford.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Centers says yes. President Burden.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. Mrs. Opus and or Mrs. Smith, I'm not sure which one of you would be more appropriate to do this. We had to kind of shuffle to make sure we got all of this in time. I'd like to make a request, if we could, to Wayne County RISA, if it is within their ability, if next year they could give this information to us a month earlier. We literally got this information on Friday, and yet we had to have our approval to them prior to their June 5th meeting, with Memorial Day in between there. Luckily, we had meetings in which we could accommodate this, but it was no small trick to make sure that we got that in there. But if we could request from Wayne RISA, if they could bump that nomination process back 1 month, if that's not too much of a hardship on their end, that would sure make it easier for our district and a whole lot of other districts, I would imagine, to comply with our obligation of putting our support for candidates.
Certainly, President Burton, I'd be happy to do that. I know Mrs. Smith certainly would be happy to do that. At her meeting, we meet monthly as Wayne County Superintendents with the Wayne County Recess Superintendent, and so I'd be happy to pass along that request and consideration.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next item on our agenda is item 9D, hearing from board members. It has become customary of this board, rather than having 7 folks offer our congratulations and other comments for the evening that would be largely repetitive, we ask one of our board members to take that opportunity for us. By all means, that will be Mrs. Frank this evening. We rotate that opportunity around. By all means, if there are other comments that board members would like to make following Mrs. Frank's comments on behalf of the Board of Education, they are more than welcome to jump in. Mrs. Frank.
Thank you. I'll try to do a better job this time. On behalf of the entire Board of Education, we want to say congratulations to those who came tonight and who were honored. We had the Livonia Tech Center graphic arts students who came, the National Merit Scholarships, and the DECA program students that came in, and it was phenomenal to hear their stories and to see these students. And I think on behalf of our whole team, almost all of them attributed their success to faculty or staff that we have in our buildings. And so on behalf of us, I would just like to say thank you to all of the staff and the teachers that go above and beyond, and the administration who goes above and beyond what they're called to do to really touch people's lives, because that's what we are here for, is to really touch students and enhance their education. And so just hearing from them and having so many of them say there was one particular or a variety of staff and teachers that affected them and in their amazing success was really, really neat, and makes this role worthwhile whenever you see these students who are accomplishing so much. The other thing I wanted to talk about was Superintendent Oquist gives so many updates of what's going on around in the district, and it is just phenomenal to see all of the diverse programs that we have and so many successes we have in our district. So we want to thank everyone who is working so hard. The last, or a couple more, is that we approved several items tonight from our sinking fund budget, and that sinking fund budget has gone before voters. It's not part of our general fund. It's something that we ask the voters to renew, and those are long-term projects, as was mentioned earlier. And we just want to thank our voters for approving that and for continuing to support LPS. Congratulations and thank you to all those staff who are retiring this year. You have served our district well, and we thank you for that. I just wanted to also take another brief moment to say May is Staff Appreciation Month, and so many of our buildings are doing amazing things for their staffs. Their PTAs are doing things, and they're just doing really neat things to make our staff feel appreciated, and it's just amazing to see. I did Riley's, and last week was Webster, and this week I think Holmes is honoring their students, as a number of other. I think Stevenson does it the entire month of May. So there's lots of things going on in our district, and it's so neat to see how people come together and really work together for these things. And I think also May is also the volunteer appreciation events at many of our schools, where they celebrate the volunteers who are making a difference in our schools. So I just wanted to thank them as well.
Are there any comments from other board members? Mrs. Jarvis.
Thank you. I can't have a month go by without talking about our Livonia Warriors. It seems a long time ago that they went to world competition. What an amazing accomplishment for them. Not only did they have a stellar year, but they actually went to compete at the world competition in St. Louis. They had a wonderful time. They made it to the quarterfinals of the world competition. And they really did us proud. The Livonia Warriors were ranked as the number 31 team in their division, which is astonishing. So congratulations to them on an absolutely stellar year. Can't wait to see what next year brings.
Thank you. Are there comments from other board members? Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, President Burton. First of all, I just want to say how proud we all are of our music departments, our choral groups, both choral and instrument. And one item was brought to my attention that I want to recognize, that it was during the week of April 22nd that 40 Stevenson High School students participated in the state solo ensemble festival. And all 40 students, 6 were soloists and 4 ensembles, all received a Division I rating, which is the highest rating that can be received. This included a perfect sight reading scores for all of them. So I want to send out our congratulations to them. They are directed by Mr. Byron Turner, and I know Mr. Turner's wife spends an awful lot of time voice coaching some of these individuals, so a big shout out goes to her as well. So congratulations to all of them.
Thank you. Are there any comments from other board members or the superintendent? Mr. Centers?
Just looking at the teacher list, there's of retirees, there's a lot of people I recognize there. One in particular, though, is Gloria Shepis, who for many years has worked at the Western Wayne Skill Center. Who I've regarded as maybe one of the most patient people I've ever met. And what a perfect person to work with students who really maybe need a little extra patience. So I want to send special congratulations out to her. We've known her for many years, and she's a great lady.
Thank you. Any other comments from other board members or the superintendent? Graduation season is upon us already. I sincerely doubt that there are too many students watching our Board of Education meeting at this moment, but
You never know.
But you never know. To our students, and more important, well, just as importantly, but in a different light, to our parents and those hosting our students over this graduation season, I cannot urge you more strongly, as I've said to my own kids, have a moderate amount of fun, which means have a great time, but please be careful for one another. And as adults, it can be tempting in this world to be our kids' friend, and this is not necessarily the week or the month to be our kids' friend, but to still continue being our kids' parent and our kids' friends' parents. Please be careful of one another out there. Congratulations to so many of our graduates from so many of our schools. It's an exciting season, and we are immensely proud of you. Enjoy your season. The next item on our agenda this evening is item 10, recess to close session for consideration of tenure charges. I'm going to accept a motion at this time, and I will let you know before I accept a motion at this time that our board will be going, if this does pass, that we are going into closed session. We will be doing that off camera. We will be coming back on camera for any vote of any necessity following that meeting. However, I do not know what length of time it will be until we come back out on camera again. I do anticipate it's typically not a 5-minute kind of a thing, but I'm sorry, I don't have a time to give you. May I have a motion right now on item 10A, consideration to proceed upon tenure charges?
President.
Just the recess to closed session.
You're just recessing.
I'm sorry. It's recess. I'm sorry.
We just make a motion to recess to closed session.
I apologize.
It's okay.
May I have a motion to recess to closed session to consider the tenure charges?
President Burden.
Mr. Centers.
Move to recess to closed session for consideration of tenure charges.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Centers, supported by Mr. Johnson. Any questions or comments from the board on the recess? Seeing none, Mr. Centers, we have a motion to recess by Mr. Centers, and supported by Mr. Johnson. Mr. Centers, would you please take the roll?
Mr. Centers says yes. Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mrs. Bonifield.
Yes.
Mrs. Bradford.
Yes.
Mrs. Frank.
Yes.
Mrs. Jarvis.
Yes.
President Burden.
Yes. We are now at recess. Thank you. We are back from recess of the Livonia Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting of May 15th, 2017. We are now at item 10A, consideration to proceed upon 10-year charges. May I have a motion, please?
President Burton.
Mrs. Bradford.
Move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District acknowledge that on May 5th, 2017, Director of Human Resources Dana Winery filed signed 10-year charges against Anna Borden with the board, and further move that the board proceed upon those 10-year charges.
Support.
We have a motion by Mrs. Bradford, supported by Mr. Johnson. Mr. Centers, would you please take the roll?
Mrs. Bradford.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mrs. Bonifield.
Yes.
Mrs. Frank.
Yes.
Mrs. Jarvis.
Yes.
Mr. Centers says yes. President Burden.
Yes. Motion passes. The next item on our agenda is item 10B, consideration to suspend an employee. May I have a motion, please?
President Burden.
Mr. Centers.
Move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District approve that, effective immediately, Anna Borden be suspended from active performance of duty in accordance with Article 4, Section 3(1) of the Michigan Teacher Tenure Act.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Centers, supported by Mrs. Bonifield. Mr. Centers, would you please take the roll?
Mr. Centers says yes. Mrs. Bonifield.
Yes.
Mrs. Bradford.
Yes.
Mrs. Frank.
Yes.
Mrs. Jarvis.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
President Burden.
Yes. Motion passes. We thank all of you who have hung in with us for a very long evening tonight. We are now adjourned. We wish you a nice evening. Good night.